Hello, and welcome back to Outtro Codex's channel. This is a short guide on DragonFable's Riftwalker class, which is the Atialan warrior class. Riftwalker is considered the most powerful of three Atialan base classes, combining a powerful shield of high damage that decays over time. Like the other Atialans, it's a relatively simple class by modern standards. The class can be acquired by being a warrior base, talking to Alzine in the Spire of Book 2 Atria, and completing her Milkgrass Arena quest. Riftwalker's primary mechanic is its Rift Cutter passive. You start every battle with 10 stacks of the passive, lose 1 stack every turn, and can reset your stacks to 10 by using Final Blow. Each stack of Rift Cutter adds 5% damage to every hit of any Riftwalker skill, except for your final. Riftwalker's melee combo and Rift effect also heal a tiny amount based on the number of missing stacks. Finally, Final does more damage the fewer stacks of Rift Cutter that you have. Riftwalker also has a hidden mechanic where you do 50% less damage if you have a staff, wand, or dagger equipped. So, you should always use a sword, axe, mace, or scythe when using Riftwalker. For farming, you generally want to use multi-strike on any number of small enemies, and power into melee combo on bigger enemies. Rift Cross can also be used to stun larger enemies while questing. The best skill on Riftwalker for boss fights is Realm Change, which gives it 180 avoidance for 2 turns inclusive, and 50 boost for 3 turns inclusive. This skill forms the core of its rotation and Riftwalker gameplay. The primary rotation of Riftwalker consists of the following 5 skills. You start with Imbue, then Realm Change, melee combo, Rift effect, and then finish with power. After your Rift Cutter boost reaches 0, you should instead do Imbue, followed by Realm Change, Final Blow, melee combo, and then finally Rift effect. Besides Final and the 5 skills in its main combo, the other 2 relevant skills for boss fights are Strength Strike and Aimed. The former skill applies a -50 boost debuff to an enemy for the next 5 turns, while the latter applies +75 bonus to yourself for 5 turns inclusive. You should generally slot in these 2 skills while not being affected by Realm Change's plus boost effect, as they do less damage than melee combo, Rift effect, or Final Blow. At level 90, you generally want to use 200 Strength and 200 Endurance, with the remaining 45 points allocated to some combination of Charisma and Wisdom. As usual, End is used for survivability in boss fights. Strength is used over Int because your final is relatively small, and so most of your damage comes from skills that don't have bonus crit. And Strength is used over Dex because your damage over time skill is generally not worth using. In addition, if you are using a sword, axe, or mace, your damage is locked to melee and so will benefit the most from Strength. The primary strengths of Riftwalker are its high initial burst damage and its powerful 2 out of 5 MPM shield. With decent Ice Scythe RNG and Pet Dragon, Riftwalker can output about 10,000 damage in the first 10 turns, which allows it to burst down many in-bosses. Its low cooldown shield matches up very well against bosses with 5 or 6 turn rotations. Riftwalker's weaknesses are its lack of real healing and relatively mediocre damage after the Rift Cutter stacks expire. This tends to make it worse at longer boss fights than classes such as Technomancer or Ranger, which both have excellent healing options and higher damage in the long run. However, Riftwalker is still an excellent class overall, especially in cases where its low cooldown shield lines up well with the enemy's rotation. This concludes the guide to Riftwalker. For a more in-depth explanation of how the skills and passives work, check out the links in the description. What do you think about Riftwalker? What classes or topics should I make guides for next? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching and good luck.